Marvin Harris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I just want to start by saying that intro is amazing. I need to know who your videographer is. So
All right.
before we get started, but yeah, I'm excited to get this going. This is exciting. So
No worries, no worries. Welcome. We call this Lending with Purpose and conversations with clients and friends, intros to various forms of information and professionals like yourself, resources like Ovals that we use. We look for that we never knew existed or wanted to learn more about. So yeah, welcome today. I didn't see you bobbing your head, so I didn't know if you liked my intro music or not. But
I liked it. I liked the whole intro. It's let me try to kill my phone, but I like the whole intro. I honestly think it's very polished. It looks like a commercial, to be honest. So very impressive. I'm very impressed, to be honest. So
thank you so much. I start with a story. And so if I would have done my job, Marvin, number one, I would have sent you the link to get into the broadcast room before, 5 minutes ago. So the world that's watching this, it's my fault that we started late today. Also, Marvin, I would have sent you a personalized video to let you know what the rundown of the show is. But I always start with a quick story. And so I had one, but I'm going to kill that story and talk about what happened today, because that kind of leads into what we're going to be talking about in regards to the workflow systems. And this is a high impact activity, though, that we're doing.
Right.
The workflow system could have helped us to maybe alleviate a little bit of stress, at least on my behalf, because you're always calm, cool, and collect. But the thing is I'm on here with a guru that specializes in creating these workflow systems, and I didn't send him any information besides the text message and everything to on what the show is about and what we're doing, and he committed to being on. But there's a system that we typically have, Marvin, I promise you, and so we'll get you on again so that I can take you through that process. I'm 0 for 2 with you right now.
No, that's okay. See, that shows my values here. So yeah. So no
so what we typically do is we like I said, I'll set this up in StreamYard. We have a link that gets created. I'll usually, like the week of, which is typically like Monday or Tuesday, I'll send the link out to everybody. With that link, I've been using these videos, video email, because I like to get face-to-face with people. Sometimes when you communicate through email and writing and typing, you don't get your point across as well. And so I'll come on, I'll do a video, to explain what happened. So in this particular situation, and everybody knows that watches, is we do a quick story at the beginning. You're going to tell us who you are, what you do. We get into a few topics around what we're talking about, and then we have a purpose question at the end. All right. And then you get that, and then you just log in, 10 minutes or so before this event happened. So everyone, that did not happen.
That's okay.
But I realized, because I do have a system in which I check my calendar every time, and I have a checklist that I go through. And I realized on the checklist that I had not sent the link over to Marvin. So I texted over to him just a bit ago. And so anyway, and maybe you could break this down too as well as we go through our process, because I know you're really passionate about what you do, Marvin. You're an expert at it. You're helping our company, Fortis Mortgage, as well, so that we can have a better experience internally with our clients, but also externally we can deliver better, because we'll know our numbers and what our key performance indicators and being able to reach our goals based on the app that you all are helping us with. So without further ado, I would like to allow you to introduce yourself.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're going to do much better than I will. So Marvin Harris, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
My name is Marvin. I'm the founder of Ovals. It's actually a workflow platform I use to help small businesses grow profit. I mean, that's the quick and dirty. Right now, we're focused on workflows specific to product insight, but we obviously can help with other things. So as far as my background, I'm probably done a workflow software architect for over 15 years as a consultant. And I just try to share what I've learned as working with these big enterprise companies, and also my experience as an entrepreneur through trial and error and hopefully help somebody else not make the same mistakes I make. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
But
So dissect my problem, because I had a
okay.
problem. I got a problem just now on what you're telling me not to worry about it, but it's a big deal to me.
Okay.
So let's start by dissecting my situation, like in regards to, well, first and foremost, let me step back. Explain to us what a workflow is, right? And what that means, but then also dissect my problem that I just have.
So I'll talk about it in the context of anybody's problem. I would say the first thing is, let's define what's high impact, because if you don't know that, I don't think the rest matters.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like to do is I'll use a real world example. As an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever, you have probably 150 things to do. How do you figure out the 5 or 10 that are really gonna get you to that goal? Like if you ask yourself, where do you want to be in the next 6 months, 12 months, or whatever, and what are the daily, weekly actions you need to take to actually make that happen? And everything else is just part of being a business owner. So what I like to actually have a Google sheet, which I can share with your audience at some point. But it's pretty simple. If you wrote down all the tasks that you're responsible for in terms of you doing on a weekly basis, and then you asked yourself, if you listed those things by customer or product and other, those are like the 3 levers I use. It could be your product or service, how it impacts customers, and then the third thing is other, right? Because outside, once you hit those 2 things, everything else just becomes part of doing business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you grade them based on 2 metrics: how much impact they have on those 2 goals, your customer goal, whatever that customer goal is. Hey, I want to increase revenue. I want to make sure my customers don't wait more than 10%, whatever it is, right? Product or service. Hey, I want to help people get whatever I offer faster, better, more, whatever they complain about. You can look at reviews or whatever this, or my employees are having problems with X, whatever that is, right? Now, and then you ask yourself, which does it have a low, medium, or high impact on that goal as it relates to my customers and as it relates to my product or service? Then the second piece is, if you ask yourself, how hard is it, hard, easy, or medium to do? And what I mean by that is how much time it takes. So if I categorize it as easy, that means it takes less than a day, right? Medium, it takes a day or 2. Hard, it takes more than 2 days. So if you really look at your kind of matrix that way, it makes it real easy to determine what's high impact.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can start thinking process first, systems and tools second. When I work with a lot of people, what I end up doing, they've already made decisions on things before they understand what they need to do. So I actually had a post on LinkedIn this morning that talked about collaboration, right? Because your job as a leader is really the vision, right? As CEO, right? Big questions, big answers. Then you have managing the execution, right? But what ends up happening is you become the chief manager and the chief executor, and that's where these workflow problems happen. So now let's build a process system or architect things around goals, and then we can figure out what to eliminate, simplify, automate, outsource. That's kind of my little motto: eliminate, to simplify, to automate, and then the rest is outsourcing, and whatever left is what you keep. And they should be those high impact things. So like an 80-20, that's a fancy way to kind of do 80-20 rule. Right.
Got it. We're going to get this in the chat real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do me one favor again, Marvin, because I couldn't even write that fast. You said it twice.
Yeah.
What are your 3 things again?
So once you get to the point, you've defined the vision in terms of those big things,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to create a process to make those things happen, to enforce daily behavior to help you reach those goals, right? Where are you going to have an impact? Like, for example, you have people that are salespeople, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain sales things that you should be doing that they can't do. Maybe you can close people better. Maybe the bigger home, maybe $2 million deals versus the $500,000, whatever, and you put as much attention on that because that's correlated to, hey, one of my goals is to grow 50% and hit this revenue goal. So if you're focused on that, your impact is going to be significant, right? So as far as the levers, once you define the impact, the question is, if I look at my process, what can I eliminate? As in, if what's stopping me? What don't I need to answer that question about to hit the impact goal? So, and then you figure out, well, I don't really need this. This is not really helping to achieve that goal or fix the problem or friction point or whatever, right? Just like you talked about the friction with your process.
Mm-hmm.
So what can be eliminated from it that I really don't need to do?
Yes.
Then the next step is, so this is like the architecture design kind of thing. The next thing is, what can I simplify and make easier through technology or through people or through shifting responsibility? And then, so I always like to go backwards. So then the next step is, once I simplified it, hey, this is how I would like to see it. Or because once you simplify, it's a plan. Once you implement it, it becomes part of doing business. And then you simplify, and then you execute the simplification. Executing being, what tools can I use to make it better? Then you decide the tools and tactics to do, right? And this goes with sales process. Like, I was working with a founder yesterday on this very thing about, he has a goal of how he wants to educate an audience. He's an attorney around IP, trademark protection, and so forth, right? But he picked the tools and then tried to fit the tools into the process he was building. So we had to rework his process to, let's design a process. And mine was like 5 steps. His was like 15. And it made you stuck, and you end up not doing anything. You overcomplicate, you get stalled because you got to think about all these components. And so then you simplify with tools. Now you plug in tools to fit the simplified process, right?
Right.
And then lastly, then you outsource things either through automation or people, right? So, and then if you have a real complicated process when you're dealing with bigger companies, it needs to be documented so you can have what I call plug and play pieces.
Right.
And this is an iterative process. You should always be looking at this to constantly improve, because what your customers may need from you 3 months ago is not the same what they need today. So, and that's kind of a simple way to do it. Like I said, eliminate, simplify, and then you use software to automate. Lastly, outsource and outsource for the rest, and then you keep what's left. And what's left should be more of those high impact things. And then that's kind of the structure. But the first thing is defining it around a goal, and then creating processes to feed that goal. And it doesn't matter if it's sales and marketing related, operations related, or product or service related. And what you should do is that's going to give you opportunity to uncover new profit, new cost savings, more time with your family, whatever, because time is irreplaceable.
That's right.
Right. And so in maybe a fraction of time, you'll be able to get more done, because it's going to change your mindset on how you go about running, operating, and executing your goals.
Right.
And I'm a victim. Yeah. So anyway,
have you found, Marvin, because I as I was listening to you talk and going through the process with you as well with my organization, I don't always do this because I really like the process. Like I enjoy that part of the process just based on my personality trait, right? However, I found myself, just like it sounds like this is a big problem. We start by going and picking the systems first, like you mentioned, identifying whatever widget or system that it is that we're going to operate on, right? Then we create a process to operate within that particular environment. And then lastly, the last thing we do is then we start to set goals to fit all of that, instead of setting the goal first so that you can build everything to be able to accomplish and achieve your goal. That's what I'm hearing, right?
That is perfect. We do everything backwards, and then what ends up happening, you do more manual effort there's more complexity, it takes more time, and there's usually a lot of frustration points. But if you define what you need to accomplish and then put the pieces in place, like building Lego blocks, right? If you think about it, like I do this with my son, we build blocks, right? But we say, what do you want to build first, right?
Right.
Keep it simple,
Yep.
right? And what at the end, we're going to have this, or this is going to be the thing. Then you're picking based, it's a parallel result. Like, for example, like I'll use it's actually a friend of mine I'm helping. So he has a CRM, but he realized his CRM can't work with the project, with the sales funnel I created for him. So the funnel's simple. Have somebody he wants to identify ways he can be more, when he meets with people, it's more impactful, right? So we came up with, he needs a quiz that he can put on his website, right? So the quiz is the value proposition, and that quiz helps the people that are in that problem that he solves decide for themselves if they should protect their idea or they shouldn't, whether it's a patent, copyright, or trademark, right? And then from there, that can digitally answer those questions instead of him having to book meetings for those people. And then he can recommend advice based on how they answer those questions. And that might lead them to a consultation, or it might lead them to a digital product that he's created to answer those questions already, or it might be both. And then he can, and then just keep going through that process, right? So now step 2 is he doesn't need free consultations anymore because he does it with a digital product.
With that
then,
quiz. The quiz
with that quiz. And he didn't have to build the quiz. I just said, hey, are you aware of this tool called Typeform? A lot of people have heard of it. Some of them don't.
I just implemented Typeform.
So he
should have told you, I suppose, huh?
And
I just implemented that.
See, there's a lot of things you can do simply, and it doesn't require complexity. We always overcomplicate. So the key is simplify so you can get to action and iterate from what you learn from the action.
Right. You know, they also, I'm sure you know this, but they have video ask as well.
Right.
That's
exactly
associated with Typeform. So, you know, I'm chomping at the bit for our project to move through, because I'm like, all right, I want to implement video ask along with that as well. But I remember what Marvin said, like, just be patient, Shawn. We're on task. We're following your goal to implement this process that we're putting together. And so I don't want to stand anything up, because like your friend with the CRM, and then have to end up tearing it down and starting all over. Wasted money. That's wasted. Like we mentioned, that time is irreplaceable.
Right.
And so when I heard you say what you were saying about the quiz, I'm like, all right, that sounds like what we implemented on our website. Because when someone comes on and they're looking to refinance or purchase, there are two buttons, for lack of a better word, or icons on there, right? They can click on one or the other, and it'll take them through a series of questions, right? That's what is it called? It's something logic, they call it. And it'll take them to a certain place and give them information based on how they answered the questions, right? But also get back to us so that we can help them on exactly and specifically what they're looking for to figure out if they're a real prospect, a viable prospect, or if we need to refer them out somewhere, or if we need to nurture them. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I have another question around entrepreneurial activities and businesses, for instance, outside of not really seeing the vision to sort of reverse engineer stuff. What other issues, so to speak, or challenges are you finding founders having when it comes to systems and workflow process?
It's mindset, I would say. It's thinking. System thinking is a skill that has to be built and trained just like you do on a workout. So it's instead of thinking, like I use this example. I was a consultant for a big company and whatever, and then I became an independent consultant. But what I really did was I just created a job for myself. I wasn't building a business. So if you're trying to build a business, your job is to see over the mountain, to use a term from someone else, and know what the future holds for you, not do the work. So you have to be slowly building towards the goal. And what happens is most entrepreneurs I work with, they're stuck because they need help thinking in certain ways to help them have time to see over the mountain because they're too worried about what's happening on the grass below the mountain, right? So to use an analogy. And so rethinking around system building so it can be passively, so your business can be structured for scale. It doesn't have to be scalable yet, but you're thinking about it because that's going to frame how you operate and how you grow the business. I'll give you a quick example. I was talking to my advisor today about collaboration, when he was talking about a relative of his who has a successful construction supply company. He said he's very successful, multi-million-dollar business, but he's going to sell that business one day for only 20% of the growth of what it could have been, because he is stopping it from growing to its fullest potential by not having systems collaboration, because he has to have he's managing instead of being the visionary leader, because he's so concerned about executing for his customers and all that. But by doing that, he's limiting the potential. So think about that for a standpoint. Let's say you grow a business to $10 million just by your grit and you doing your thing, but you can never enjoy it or see how much bigger it could be because you don't have time for those other things. So what if that was 20? I'll use a simple example. What if that 10 million is 20% of what it could have been because you didn't have a workflow system and you didn't focus on high impact?
Right.
You've turned a $100 million business or a $50 million business into a $10 million business.
Right. And it's actually not sustainable either, because you have to be involved in the business for it to operate.
And that's why it doesn't reach its potential. I have this personal, and the mission of Ovals is we create products to try to help people reach their fullest potential and reduce waste. So if you think about that in context of whether it's workflow systems or whatever you helping customers, because you're helping people, you're in business, or whether you're a business leader or just a leader in an organization, you are part of a purpose or a mission. And so if you stay focused on that, it would change the way you go about your day.
Got it. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't tell him to say anything about purpose or mission, but I was thinking the whole time, I am so fortunate that I'm blessed enough to have clients and friends like yourself, Marvin, that I can share with our network, because this is really good stuff. Again, like I say it a lot, I could come on here and talk about mortgages and 30-year fixed and things like that. Everyone knows the rates are historically low. They're still very low right now. There are a lot of changes that are happening to help more people to be able to gain home ownership, right? But I think where we need to add our value with what we're doing here is to help people think outside the box, like leaders that I know in my network, to help them think in ways in which we can impact more people through these types of activities. So somebody like myself, right, that has millions of ideas and wants to grow, right, and has that particular mindset to build systems and such, but struggles with the fact that there's so much on their plate that they may get overwhelmed. What advice would you give to a founder or a leader that maybe kind of struggles with putting their ideas into motion?
I always tell people, focus. The first thing you should do is focus on things that are business or mission critical, so you can 10x that time. And that's something I'm working on myself, right? So I want to think more vision and implement and figure out ways to let other people make it happen, because you're going to get more out of your people. Because what happens, like I've struggled with this, you assign a task and then they're sitting there waiting for you to give them another, because you haven't allowed them to think. They feel frozen by structure, right? But if you give them a system and say, hey, this is this is what we're trying to accomplish every day. So if I tell you, if you know for your business, if you get 100 leads a day, if you have 10 conversations a day, let's say that, if you average 10 conversations a day, you know, to help people with a refinance or whatever, or educate them, that I know I'm going to reach this number of revenue, right? If I know that to be true, then that's my goal, right? And so you focus on that activity, high impact activity daily, and you hold yourself accountable to that, then it's going to change what you define as important. So if I was to ask you, I'd ask you, I want you to pick 2 things that's important for you to accomplish in the next 90 days. What would you say?
To accomplish in the next 90 days would be to get this app up and running.
No, forget the app for your business, because the app is a conduit to help you with your business.
For the business in the next 90 days, I want to add at least one more salesperson.
Okay, stop there. I want you to think different. See, this is like a think different exercise.
Right, let's go.
Answer the question about what question you want to answer about the growth of your business or a customer. What are the 2 questions you want to answer?
Oh, all right. So are we talking revenue for the business?
What's a metric of growth for you? It could be revenue. It could be an action. It could be activity.
So a metric of growth for us is the number of applications. Like,
sorry, stop right there. No, stop right there. So that's what you should be asking yourself. What's the application question you need to answer in the next 90 days from today?
Yeah. The more conversations we have, the more apps we get, obviously the better the conversion and the more growth we have. So if we increase the number of applications we get, then obviously there's going to be more revenue coming into the organization, and we help.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you ask yourself, how much of your activities focus on that goal? Percentage wise.
I could tell you what I'd like to tell you, but
no, I mean, it could be how far are you away from making that? So I want you the second question.
We're on track with our applications, like based on the goal that we set. I think we set the bar. I think we set the goal too low.
How'd you come up with the goal though?
Based on historical data. Like,
so that's always my pet peeve. Don't look at historical data. Look at what's happening right now and where you're trying to go.
Right. So that's why I say that because I think we set that number too low, because based on historical data, we didn't have historically low interest rates. We didn't have as many of the 5-star Google reviews and such and activity that we have. There really hadn't been right now there's a shift, like in regards to the social climate, and folks want to support different certain types of businesses and such.
Right.
Based on that, I don't think that existed when we were setting the goals. Right. And so now things have shifted. We've added more teammates to help with that growth. But yeah, to answer your question, I really think that I want to readjust that number because because I think we set the bar too low.
That's okay.
Crazy.
So what I would say is you need to pick 2 to 3 things that are aligned with the goal. Like one of them's the application metric. So you should be asking yourself, you should be measuring for applications, entry and out, right? So what gets somebody to a point of an application, right? So that's the goal, right? The second thing is, what's another goal you want to accomplish? Question. Think of it like we just talked about, right? So
well, like we talked about with you, I want to cut down the time frame that it takes from application to closing.
Right. So you can lump that all in the application bucket, but think about another question, maybe something you need to answer for your customers or your team members, like where are they struggling that aligns with, or a new product or service you want to launch, or a new revenue stream. Like think about it from that perspective.
So from a customer perspective, the turnaround time on communicating.
Okay, stop there.
Responding to like emails and not even the response, but how we respond and what we say when we respond.
Okay, so the second one is, so always, this is actually great. I always tell people reviews or what customers say are indicators where you can focus your time because they're giving you what they need from you. So if you take those two things, that's answering those two questions is what your day should be made of.
My day.
Yes, you're the leader. Yeah, your day, and driving those things. And so now you ask yourself, think about all the other stuff you do, and now that's where I would start.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So
thank you, Marvin. So
you're welcome.
Have a one-on-one tomorrow.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So yeah, that's there's a lot of ways to think of it, and sometimes we need support. So any way I can be helpful, people can reach out or follow me on LinkedIn. I give tips, and like I said, anytime I'm a helper, so any way I can help somebody, I'm here for sure.
So segue into that. How can we connect with you? So two things. How can we connect with you or your organization? And then what do you need? Like, what is there that we can do to help you? Because there's a network of people that are listening and watching this here. We need to know what you need and how to connect with you.
As far as connecting with me, as far as my ovals, my email address is just Marvin at ovalz.io. So if you're interested in learning about, ways our software can be an enabler, I'm more than happy to do that. I also have my LinkedIn is just Ask Marvin. So, that's always the best place to reach me. I share information. You can DM me, whatever. As far as like some of these insights I provide that are just for entrepreneurs, I have a personal website. It's marvharris.com. And I have a weekly newsletter I put out, and I share these tips through the newsletter. It's called, we're trying to grow ideas and income. So that's kind of my philosophy around this. The whole point of doing all this is to grow ideas and income, because most people that are watching this you're probably a builder of some sort. You're building something, whether you work for somebody or you've started something, you have an idea, you want to build it. And so I try to share what I've learned from my experience in the workforce and as an entrepreneur, what I learned from other people, and distribute that information. So the contact me that way as well, for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. We just put this up, Marvin at ovals.io. And then you said your website is Marv Harris.
Yeah. Just hit me up on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way, and then we could just take it from there. But I don't want to inundate people with a million call to actions, but just shoot me an email. I'll give you a link if you want to join my newsletter for tips, and then we could take. And I'm more than happy, or schedule something. I have a calendar on my on my LinkedIn profile. So love to chat, follow me, and more than happy to share everything I know, and also engage with other people's content to learn from them as well. Yeah,
that's awesome. I really appreciate you and feel very fortunate that I got an opportunity to meet you. So thanks for that. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap things up. You mentioned purpose earlier. That's the reason for which things are done or exist in regards to purpose. So this is always an interesting question that I love to ask people. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to. Because sometimes it's a little intrusive. Sometimes people do this question as an icebreaker. But we'll close with this. So Marvin, you get one person, dead or alive, and you get one question for that person. You could be having breakfast, lunch, coffee, dinner, email of some sort, or DM, or whatever it might be. One person, dead or alive, one question. Who would it be, and what would you ask?
Oh wow, that's a tough one to narrow it down. I'd probably say Steve Jobs.
Oh wow, okay, I like to hear this. What would you ask?
Oh wow, I have so much to ask him, but I think I would just focus on building, like growing an idea. Right, I would ask him, how did he know the idea was right to pursue?
How did he know the idea was right to pursue?
Yes,
Wow.
because we get stuck on that a lot. I know I've been at like, how do you know the iPhone idea was right to pursue versus the 100 or 1,000 we've never heard of that he decided to throw away or iterate on? When was it time to start? Because that is the number one thing everybody I talk to, entrepreneurs or whatever, sometimes just stuck on starting if you should pursue this or should you pivot to something else or iterate on what it is. And that keeps you from reaching your potential more than anything else.
Wow. Great philosopher you are. That was great. That was great. So Marvin, I'll ask you to hang on for a second as I close
Sure.
out. Everyone, thanks for joining us today with Lending with Purpose. Really appreciate your time. If there's anything that we can do to help anyone here, I'd be happy to help anyone. Like I mentioned every week, it'd be a shame to have folks like Marvin in our network and access to folks in these resources and not be able to share them. So just please reach out if we can help in any way. Everyone, do your best to remain as safe and as healthy as possible. And we will see you next week at 2 p.m. Take care. Thanks again, Marvin.
Thank you for having me. It was a great pleasure. Yeah.